Hello, everybody. It's 1:15, and I was prompted that I should start at this time. But I'm going to wait. I don't know if we're recording in the back. There's nobody there, so. Oh, we're good? Oh, we're great. Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for coming, for showing up for our presentation. We are from the Colorado Energy Office, and we're going to talk about how to access federal funds using some of the examples of the programs that we've got going on at CEO, Colorado Energy Office. So y'all ready to get started? Okay, we'll do it. Let me get started with this clicker. Oh, nice. Here's our presentation. So first we want to kind of start off with the agenda for today. We want to talk about, we're going to kind of give a little intro on the Colorado Energy Office, the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Roadmap, and the Inflation Reduction Act programs that came about from that legislation passing. We're also going to be talking about highlighting some best practices, not only, I think, from the things that we have learned, but we also want to have a little bit of interaction with you all and see what are some of the things that you've learned and really try to have this be an interactive session so that we can learn from each other, because we are not the experts, and so that's what we're here to do, learn from each other. And then, of course, at the end, just have a conclusion on any questions and potentially like a pairing up of all of you to see what you've taken away from the presentation and anything else you might have. So I'll go ahead and get started. We wanted to share, I guess we'll start here, yes. We wanted to share just a little bit of how the Energy Office works, right? And so if you take a look, this is kind of like our organizational chart. So of course we've got our executive and deputy director, and we've got our office support teams, which is the executive, operations, comms, and engagement. But one of the things that, we're going to be focusing on two specific programs, but that doesn't mean that the office isn't doing other things. And so we've got different areas that we're working with, and there's a lot of people involved in all of the work that we do. And so we just kind of briefly wanted to mention, we've got a policy team that's specific to regulatory policy. They're doing research, transmission, grid policy, all of that. We've got transportation, which is all about like our EV charging, infrastructure, EV incentives, et cetera. We've got building decarbonization, which is like our building codes, building performance, all of that. We also have strategic initiatives, which is financing geothermal. So if you were at the plenary this morning, sorry, English is my second language, so I apologize for my sometimes my wording. Bryce is also part of the CEO, and so he talked about geothermal, and so that's kind of their area. We've got a weatherization assistance program, which is low-income program that focuses on how do we create homes more energy efficient, and then we've got we did have Solar for All, which is my team, but because of funding, it is no longer available right now, but we're hoping that we'll win this fight. And then, of course, we've got local government that focuses on local government climate, Accelerator, which, Ari, and then, of course, Annie, they all have their areas, and they'll be talking to that. So just wanted to kind of share that even though we might only mention two areas that we're going to be talking about in two programs, it doesn't mean that there aren't other things that we're working with within the office. So first and foremost, what is our mission and our vision at CEO? And one of the biggest things for our mission is we want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and consumer energy costs by advancing clean energy, energy efficiency, and zero-emission vehicles to benefit all Coloradans. Our vision is a prosperous and clean energy future for Colorado. And if we take a look back at some of these programs that we've got, that is how we plan to hopefully reach that future together. And I think now, I'm going to pass it on to Ari.
Alrighty, now we'd love to hear from some of you in the room. So show of hands, can we see who in this room works for a local municipality in Colorado? All right, and which of you work for nonprofits in mountain communities? All right, awesome. And any folks from utilities in the room? Okay, so obviously we've got quite a few sectors here. I think would love to hear from some of you of kind of what are the priorities in your communities right now. This can be something on the screen or something else that your community is prioritizing. So feel free to just shout it out. What's your top priority for your community?
For me personally, I care about housing affordability, but everyone else is like, no growth ever, so.
All right, housing affordability, maybe personal, but I'm sure there's others. Okay, anyone else? No other local government priorities. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Building electrification. One more, anybody? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, great. So yeah, obviously there's lots of different priorities that different communities have in the room. And I think at the Energy Office, we try to provide a diverse array of programs to support you and meet you all wherever you're at. So I'm gonna pass it to Annie now to talk more about the Colorado Greenhouse Gas Pollution Reduction Roadmap and kind of the sector-specific approach that we've taken with that and how it can support you all in reaching your goals.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Beall, and I work on the Building Decarbonization team. And let me click ahead here. Okay. And so I'm going to share a little bit about our background of how we got to even accessing these IRA funds. So as many of your local governments have your own climate plans or housing plans or economic development plans, the Colorado Energy Office utilizes the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Roadmap. Has anybody here accessed or taken a look or participated in that Greenhouse Gas Roadmap? Awesome. Thank you. Yes, we're really using this as a sector-based approach to reduce pollution. And we just really wanted to reiterate some things that we've seen on a national level, but here in Colorado, our largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions are first, transportation, second, electricity generation, third, oil and gas production, fourth, industry and manufacturing, and fifth, fuel use in homes and buildings. And I think it's really, we're going to really talk a lot about how we really attend to these with some of the federal programs. Okay. Let's see. So the roadmap builds on actions that Colorado is already taking to reduce greenhouse gas pollution. And the roadmap proposes the following steps to achieve Colorado emissions reductions by 2030. So the first here is to swiftly transition away from coal to renewable energy. Second is to reduce methane pollution from oil and gas development. Third is to accelerate the shift to electric cars, trucks, and buses. Fourth, make changes to transportation planning and investment and land use planning to encourage alternatives to driving. Fifth here is increase building efficiency and electrification. And sixth is to reduce methane waste from landfills, wastewater, and other sources. And the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Roadmap really hosts a slew of near-term actions, which are available in those roadmaps that are often updated. And one of those main near-term actions that we are focusing on today is the goal to maximize the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the IIJA, and the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, investments here in Colorado. Who here has heard of the Inflation Reduction Act? Yes. Yes. So the Inflation Reduction Act passed in 2022 was the single largest investment in climate and energy in American history, enabling America to tackle the climate crisis, advance environmental justice, and secure America as a position in a world leader in clean energy manufacturing, and create a path to net zero economy by 2050. And that was estimated to reduce US greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 compared to the 2005 baseline. And so I think it's been really helpful for me to be here at this conference to really hear how much, we're all kind of grieving the impacts of the IRA, part of it being disassembled, and how we're also trying to think of how do we keep working with what is left. As you all are likely aware, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed a reconciliation bill on July 4th, 2025. And this is a new tax law that really represents a significant step backwards on federal policy, and it really particularly targets key tax and federal provisions from the IRA, which includes abruptly repealing entire categories of tax law. And so that's really where you hear the ending of tax credits. Who here's kind of heard that a lot of the tax credits are ending in the end of 2025, yes. And so today we'll be able to talk a lot about rebates, which are continuing, and just wanted to be able to distinguish tax credits are different from the rebates, and we'll continue to get into that. And the OBBA also rescinds some remaining spending from various IRA programs. And here on this screen, we just want to talk about these 3 federal IRA programs that the CEO has accessed for the state of Colorado. And we find that these programs apply directly to Colorado mountain towns. And if you're not in Colorado, it is quite likely that your Western state also has an energy office that is also working on these same programs. Is anyone from a different state? Okay, what state? New Mexico. Well, we are very friendly with their energy office, and so we're working in collaboration with their teams to, see how they're designing their programs differently and really cross-pollinate some ideas. So I think a lot of this can apply to your state as well. So here I wanted to first call out the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, CPRG. This was an IRA section, and this is from the EPA, and this is really planning and implementation grants for addressing greenhouse gas pollution. So the CEO has accessed this grant from the EPA and is now creating a way to pass through those funds to Colorado, and that is what Ari will really describe in depth soon. Then the next provision that we're really working with is the Home Energy Rebate Program. There's 2 sections there, and these are for residential energy efficiency and electrification for income-qualified households in Colorado. And that's the program that I manage, and I'm so excited that it has not been cut from the OBBA, and it's continuing into implementation. And so we are about to share with you all and really launch this into the public, so you all as municipalities, nonprofits can really uptake this as possible. And then I'll pass this over to Dinorah to really share how Colorado Energy Office did access the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund Solar for All program through the EPA, and it's currently in a different state. So please tell us.
Yeah, so it's a bittersweet. So my role in the energy office when I was hired as a comms and engagement specialist. And so it was specific to Solar for All. It was one of the biggest grants that the CEO office had received. And it was essentially to expand residential solar, including single family, multifamily, and community solar. Unfortunately, because of the termination of the funds that the EPA has now put into place, we are on a hold, and we are hoping to win. But right now, we just have had to put that, access to that and kind of all of the work that we had been working towards on pause. But we are hopeful that things might change and that we're gonna do our best to try to get the money back.
Thank you. And I just wanted to maybe quickly capture, I know a lot of you in the audience have probably also independently accessed EPA climate pollution reduction grants or other grants from the DOE and maybe have had something stalled. So just raise your hand so we could acknowledge, like, did you apply for a grant and it's still continuing? Or did you apply for a grant? Okay, some folks, that's still continuing. Yay, go y'all. And if you applied for a grant that was canceled or funds, yes. So it's a tough time, and we hope that we can focus on what's still available, and also, as we've heard so much in this conference, look for other local, state, and private solutions. So I'll pass it over to Ari.
Yes. So the 156 million got canceled, but are those top 2 still
Yes.
going in the state?
Yes.
To address the elephant in the room so that people didn't think that we were going to be talking about solar. That was the plan, and then things shifted, but yeah.
All right, yes. So I will be talking about the Impact Accelerator Grant Program, which is part of that first line item. So that was funded by the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant through EPA. So our office won $129 million last fall, and we are rolling that out in 3 different programs. One of these programs is the Impact Accelerator. So the Accelerator, is going to provide $50 million to local governments throughout the state of Colorado for transformative policy adoption. So we're really incentivizing local jurisdictions to take it a step further than kind of state and local minimum requirements and adopt policies that go beyond those standards. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. Eligible applicants are local governments, so cities, counties, or cohorts of cities and counties, as well as Colorado's 2 federally recognized tribes. And then we're incentivizing this policy adoption in 4 different sectors. So buildings, transportation, land use, and waste. So this might look like adopting an all-electric building code in the building sector, or adopting a universal composting policy in the waste sector. So what do we consider policy for this program? Policy is going to be something that is durable and permanent, something that's passed by an elected body, and exceeds, like I said, those local and state requirements. And the intent with this program, really, because this is grounded in reducing emissions, is how do we create policy that is going to extend beyond today and tomorrow, right? But something that's going to define how communities are building buildings and adopting land use codes for the next however many years. And so that's why we're really trying to incentivize policy adoption that's going to be long-lasting and define how things are done for years to come. Projects are going to generally be initiatives that support new or existing policies. And one important piece, again, honing in on that policy component of this grant, is that you can apply for a policy-only proposal. You can also apply for a policy with project funding, but you can't come in for project funding alone. We do have a very long guidance document on our website, so if you're considering applying, would highly recommend reading through that. It lists the 24 eligible policies as part of this program, as well as 34 different project examples. So we have policies in all of those 4 sectors I mentioned, and then examples of what those policies look like in Colorado and other communities. So a couple other things to note for this program. You can have multiple policies and projects included in one application. So you could apply for policies in 2 different sectors, and then you could apply for 3 different projects. We do want to see a focus. So, I think we say that having, 2 or 3 really honed in ideas is going to be better than kind of coming with 8 different policies. But generally, we're happy to, accept applications for more than one policy. You can also apply for policies and projects in different sectors. So for example, you could apply for a building policy to adopt an all-electric building code, and then a waste project to kind of roll out composting in your community. And this seems a little bit confusing, but what we really want to see is that you are, again, going for that policy adoption that's going to be longstanding in your community. And then if you're applying for a project in a different sector, to kind of help us understand why you're pushing that project forward. Does it support a previous policy that your community enacted, or a plan, and kind of what is the grounding for doing this project work? We are generally trying to avoid projects with a lot of construction and really long timelines. And this really goes to kind of the dialogue around the federal status at this point. We are prioritizing getting funding out into communities as quickly as possible and trying to get these projects going quickly as well. So construction is not prohibited, but we are looking for kind of quick build projects if you are considering construction, or something that can be done within the time frame of the grant. And then in terms of the different types of costs for this program, so policy costs are going to be anything that can support your jurisdiction and kind of getting to that point where your council or your county commissioners are able to say yes. So that could look like stakeholder outreach and education, hiring a consultant to support with kind of the technical analysis or the drafting of the policy, conducting a study to inform policy adoption, or running a small pilot project. And then on the project side, we're looking at things like purchasing equipment, so doing a really big heat pump purchase or EV bike purchase for your community, running a rebate program or a reduced fee program, so like how to reduce fees for permitting ADUs, for example. hiring consultants to support with project development or implementation, and then planning, design, and engineering costs. This is something, especially with the fact that we're trying to avoid really heavy construction projects that could drag on and take a lot of time. But if you have costs that inform the construction, right? So the engineering fees and the design fees, those are all eligible costs with this program. All right, so we did have a round one, which closed August 1st, and we had 29 applicants for that round, so we were really excited about that. We'll be going through the process of them submitting the second part of their application, and then those applicants will receive awards in December of this year. And we just opened our second round on October 1st, and this is open until November 17th. I will say the letter of intent language is kind of inaccurate. I would call this more than a letter of intent. We're really asking folks to put probably a 70% of the full application effort. This is including a budget template, and you do need to submit an LOI in order to be considered for the full application. We also have a list of wonderful regional coordinator organizations. You can see the map on the right part of the screen here. And these regional organizations are really here to help jurisdictions with this application process. So you can reach out to them for questions about the grant program, for support with completing your application or filling out the budget template. We meet with them quite regularly and answer their questions. So if you're considering applying, highly recommend reaching out and working with one of these organizations. We are going to host a Q&A webinar next Wednesday, and then we will be having meetings with all applicants in December and January. And this really enables us to have a one-on-one conversation with folks who have applied, to provide feedback, to answer questions. I'm just realizing I was supposed to stand over here the whole time. And to provide feedback to kind of support the full application process. So by January 14th, we'll provide encouraged or discouraged decisions for folks that are encouraged. They will then be able to complete a full application. We will announce awards in April of next year and then get the contracting process going in summer of next year. Yeah, and if you want to register for the Q&A webinar next Wednesday, that QR code should do the trick.
Topics? Yeah. Come on up, take a picture. Or I think, Ari, you also have some flyers.
I do have flyers,
okay.
Yeah. So
and they have the QR code
as well.
On it?
I don't know about that.
Okay, so grab the QR code now if you need it.
I'll hand out some flyers after.
Okay, cool. I'll just take this, thank you. Thanks, Ari. And now we're going to shift over to the Home Energy Rebate Program. And I have 3 slides that I'll share here, and I also have flyers that you can take home with you or grab our QR codes. So I hope I'm setting you up for some future information that's to come. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Home Energy Rebate Program, and keep it up if you're kind of excited and looking forward to what this could bring to your community. A couple folks, yes. We have 2 programs here, the Home Efficiency Rebates, HER, and then the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates, which we call HERE. Both of these programs are going to be contractor-led and delivered. This means that the contractors will access the rebate, and the rebate will be applied on the bill to the customer. So it's going to be a reduction in the overall project cost for all of our qualified projects that I will list. So this program is income qualified program that can support up to households earning up to 150% area median income, with a higher tier of rebates typically available for households earning below 80% area median income, and then a different tier for households earning between 80 and 150% area median income, and I'll share more about that. This will be available to existing single-family, manufactured and mobile homes and multifamily buildings. We are going to be launching this program this winter, and it'll be available for a period of 4 years. And so we realize a lot of these projects for multifamily buildings can take quite a while. There's an extended period to really bring this program to your community, get contractors really involved in this clean energy transition and this technology transition. And then what we're really looking for at the end of the 4-year period is we will have induced market transformation and really brought on a lot more community members, contractors, and really just infused these investments into the community to show that transformation. We had DOE targets that we are still working to uphold. So we are really tasked in the Inflation Reduction Act to ensure that 40% of the overall program benefits flow to disproportionately impacted communities. We use the EnviroScreen map to really analyze those communities, and so we're really trying to bring those to the communities that have not been served by the clean energy transition in Colorado. And we're tasked to deliver at least 40% of funds to low-income households and allocate at least 10% of funds to low-income multifamily buildings. All right, here's a nice detailed view of both programs side by side. The Home Efficiency Rebate Program, and this is focused for very large multifamily buildings over 50,000 square feet, and also for mobile or manufactured homes. And this is so looking at the whole building or the whole mobile home and doing some energy modeling to look at the expected energy savings, and if that mobile home or large multifamily building is anticipated to have savings of at least 20% energy savings, we can do anything that needed to happen that's included in that model to reach those energy savings. So we're really looking at a whole building energy savings model. And again, this will require registered program contractors to perform the work and complete the application on behalf of the rebate application on behalf of the households or building. And these measures that could be included through a model can include heating and cooling, gas or electric, appliances, insulation and air sealing, ventilation, and water heating. Then, when we head over to the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebate Program, this is really for high-efficiency electric appliances and other upgrades. This is really focusing on electrification and cold climate heat pumps. This really is a focus on single-family homes, mobile homes, and multifamily buildings smaller than 50,000 square feet. Again, this is contractor-led and delivered, and it is for existing buildings and is not a type of rebate program where a household can go to Home Depot, buy an equipment, and then ask for the rebate. It really needs to be delivered by a registered contractor because oftentimes we're switching from a gas appliance to an electric appliance, and so it really requires that registered contractor's work to ensure that that conversion is done safely and holistically. And so those upgrades are going to include heat pump water heaters, cold climate and standard heat pumps for space heating and cooling, electric stove, cooktop ranges and ovens, electric panels, insulation, air sealing, and ventilation, and electric wiring. And so that can be up to $14,000 of rebates for a household. And this program for a manufactured household, if you're achieving above 35% energy savings, you could receive up to $16,000 per mobile home, or for a large multi-family building, up to 80% of the project costs. So significant rebates are going to be available. So this last slide here is really how can your mountain towns leverage this funding. One component is really communicating this opportunity to your constituents and to your workforce. We will have toolkits available for municipalities and community-based organizations to include talking points, media points, and information how to educate your constituents and participants to get involved. Workforce engagement, we're really looking for any municipality that has active engagement with their workforce, electricians, energy auditors, insulation specialists, to really learn about this and really use this as a method to achieve your climate or housing goals. And really reaching your housing stock. So as you understand what is your housing stock in your community, is there mobile homes that could really use this service, single family homes, or might you know multifamily owners or operators that could really benefit from this? We want to get connected. And of course, if you own or operate directly any affordable housing, you can apply directly for these funds. And we're also looking for coordination with your utility provider or any existing energy efficiency service provider in your area. We know there's lots of nonprofits that are already doing this work and will be really adapting these rebates into their business models and really bringing on utility partners to target a specific customer segment or bring some of this messaging through their utility messaging. We heard a lot today, this morning, of that kind of last 10%, which I think was really 20 to 30% of those utility goals, was to really direct outreach to individual households. And so this is going to be that action to really bring these products into these homes. And the last thing I want to mention here is we look to municipal governments to really coordinate with their community-based organizations who's really reaching the populations we want to reach. And so kind of doing these coordination with your utility, your trusted community-based organizations to host an event to educate and share about these programs over time, and we can join you in those efforts and provide resources. So those are some ideas that we'll continue to extrapolate soon.
Thank you very much, Annie. And now, I don't know why that's like that. It should be centered, not the way that it is. It's not our fault. We promise it looks fine on our end. So just as Annie has shared, right, there is a lot happening in the way that these programs go about, getting people access to it, learning, teaching people that these programs are available. And now we just want to take the next maybe like 3 minutes to kind of put things back on you. And we want to know if y'all are, open and interested to kind of do a bit of a popcorn where what are some of the best practices in the work that you have done? Obviously, I think we know that there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of things that we can improve, but we want to take this time to maybe highlight some of the good stuff. So what are some of the things in the work that you've done, whether it's collaboration, communication, that you feel are some key elements to really take on for like best practices when it comes to new programs, sharing, spreading the word within communities, et cetera, et cetera? Anybody? You can think about it, it's cool. Silence is fine.
I think consistency, so if you've got a utility rebate and a state rebate and the qualification process and even contractors to, be qualified to perform the improvement. So just consistency. So it's not, you have to get on this list and you have to get on this list and you have to do this for this list. Consistency.
I love that consistency, yes. Who else? Yeah.
I guess like I'm gonna kind of touch on that. I'm with Northwest Colorado Council of Governments, so like with our weatherization program, it's like I think pretty streamlined, at least for us. Like our outreach team gets people like qualified and signed up, and then like we try to just apply everything that we can, just kind of take that burden off the client at least. It's a good way to do it.
So community support, right? Making sure that they do the less amount of work so that they can have access to all these resources. Awesome. Let's take one more. Well, I'm happy to share. I think something, from a comms perspective, I think something that has been reiterated in this conference the past couple of days is how much we really need to care about messaging, right? And how much we really need to care about the way in which we're presenting these programs and these rebates to the communities that we want to make an impact for. And it's not about us going and saying, we have all this money and you need it because it's going to make our state or your community better, but it's really having the awareness of sitting down and listening. What do you need? What are the values that are important to you? And then how do we then tailor that messaging for whatever programs we might be presenting so that they're more lenient on understanding that it's not about us trying to implement something that maybe they don't align with fully, but how we're taking in their values and the things that are important to them, and how we are aligning that towards the things that we can help, lessen their burdens or improve their quality of life, right? So I think maybe, in your comms team, if you have one, making sure that that messaging and the alignment is with the communities of what they're valuing instead of just going into it. I think especially when it comes to local governments, there can be hesitation, right? There can be like an arm's length away of like, you always tell me what to do, and it doesn't necessarily work for me that way. And so I think being able to be open and active listeners on what are the things that are important to them, so that we can come at these programs and these solutions with the best collaborative relationship possible. Great.
Thank you. Let's see here. Yes. Yeah, Dinorah, that makes me think of when I was working to get these home energy rebate funds, and during the memo we got from the federal government in the beginning of the summer to really reduce a lot of our language on reaching disproportionately impacted households, DEI message, I had to clear most of my documents of words that said green, clean, community, and lots of other words. And it actually brought the messaging back to an 8th grade reading level, which is actually what we want. And so it was a really tough exercise and really illuminating of that messaging component. And we do want to leave that really open to y'all's communities of, is that clean air and indoor air quality, or is that reduce cost or increase comfort? I live in Gunnison, Colorado, and to have increased comfort in a mountain community might mean more in a different community than in a community that's really valuing indoor air quality because they live in an area with worse air quality. So really looking for y'all to build in that messaging that works for your communities. So here I just wanted to highlight, I think we've heard so much about regional networks, and just really wanted to highlight how we're seeing some collaboration in so many areas of the state. Is anybody here from any of these organizations or the Durango area? I don't think folks made it because it's so far. So we've been working a little bit with 4Core Office of Resource Efficiency. I know they're a partner with Energy Smart Colorado, and they provide so many services. They administer the Colorado Affordable Residential Energy Program, the CARE program from Energy Outreach Colorado. They offer free energy efficiency services from funding from Energy Outreach Colorado. That includes utility rebates and local resources. They have a bunch of projects on clean transportation, water conservation, solar projects, and they are really interested in accessing the rebate program. And they definitely have shared with us their workforce struggles, the lack of contractors to really carry out this work. And so really we're thinking of these programs and some of our other initiatives to bolster workforce are going to build out this solution over the next 4 years. It's not going to be ready day one of project launch, but really this is an effort to get to that future outcome of having a more ready workforce. And I think they're really working on that with La Plata Electric Association. So when we're in meetings with them, they're like, I want to bring in my utility to make sure they're aware of the same information. And our utility, La Plata Electric Association, they have their own rebates. So how can we think of these new incoming projects? How might they match with existing rebates and not supplant them? But let's use these emerging programs to help bolster existing and future rebates with the utilities. And also bringing in your city in whatever capacity to support messaging and workforce strategy and comms and outreach with the constituents. So I wanted to just highlight this as an example of what we're looking for of regional networks to really carry out some of this messaging to really initiate the uptake of these federal incentives. So I think I will pass it on to Ari to give an even more in-depth example.
Thanks, Annie. So to highlight one of the programs that our office is now, has granted all the funding for and is now working with 9 grantees to kind of support their projects, we have the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, or EECBG program. And this program really came from a recognition that a lot of rural and mountain communities lack the staff capacity at the local level to have somebody really focused on climate and sustainability issues. And so it provides $2.1 million to grantees for staff or consultant capacity to really focus on exactly what their local community priorities are. So like I mentioned, we now have 9 grantees. They were awarded in 2024, and they'll be working on implementing their proposals and scopes of work for about the next 2 years. And in addition to providing this staff capacity or consultant capacity, whatever makes more sense for them, this is really focused on regional collaboration. So a lot of the organizations that we granted to are regional organizations and work closely with their local communities. And so we have brought on ICLEI USA, who's providing technical assistance to grantees to support them in their scopes of work. And then we're also organizing regional cohort kind of webinars with guest speakers, ranging from kind of how do you do climate communications in your community, or what are specific financing mechanisms that you can look into. And so 2 examples of grantees. One of them is Eco Action Partners. You might have heard them speak yesterday. They're a regionally focused organization. They work in San Juan, San Miguel, and Ouray counties, and they do quite a host of types of work. So they organize educational events around things like thermal energy networks. They work with elected officials. They organize and implement a regional green grants program. And so our grant is going towards basically supporting a staff position to amplify and continue to do the really great work that they're doing. Another example is the Colorado River Valley Economic Development Partnership. And the focus of their project is really looking at gathering baseline data that they recognize their community didn't have. So looking at collecting baseline emissions data, baseline economic development data to support their ability to make decisions in the future. Specifically, they're looking at kind of the differences in Garfield County. East Garfield County is a little bit more tourism focused. West Garfield County tends to be more industry focused, and they have a really big oil and gas presence. And so the idea with their study is ideally to basically create better, high quality and sustainable jobs in their communities to keep folks living and spending in their region rather than commuting to local communities for jobs. So this is just, again, 2 of the 9 grantees, but really highlighting the power of regional partnership and collaboration and trying to amplify that work, and certainly encourage folks to look at the list of grantees on our website and reach out to them. They're kind of earlier on in their projects, but hopefully at the end of these 2 years, we'll have some learnings from the work that they've been able to do, and ideally this program will also enable them to advocate for the value of sustainable funding for positions that are focused on climate and sustainability issues. All right, I'll pass it back to Annie.
All right, so we're going to just spend the last 15 minutes here doing some brainstorming. And so now that you've heard about the 2 programs that Ari has shared, and then also the program I've shared, I'd like for you to just spend time to talk to someone next to you or someone behind you, kind of huddle up for 7 minutes, just to discuss really what opportunities you might have for regional collaboration, something you're already doing or something you want to expand on, and really think of what works for you, or is there something you really want feedback on or brainstorming on, and then We'll come back in 7 minutes and have a few share outs as to how you're thinking, how might I access this fund? How might I make a new connection regionally to really leverage and put in an application or really leverage the Home Energy Rebate Program? And then we'll just hear some of your initial thoughts. So I'll call us back in at 7 minutes after the hour. And so just please spend some time chatting, and then I'll bring us in to wrap us up. So, and we'll come around and chat with you all too. So please pair up or small groups.